Well, thank you all for being here tonight in less than ideal weather, but we need this rain. We're in a state of drought here in western Pennsylvania, so this is a welcome rain for us and for the forest. But welcome to Fallingwater Fireside, where we advance ideas, have critical discussions, creative thinking around design, art, architecture, and nature. And this is a tradition that carries on a legacy of the Kaufman family. So the Kaufmans invited the likes of Frida Kahlo, Albert Einstein, Alvar Aalto, Marcel Breuer, Walter Gropius, Alfred Barr. Just about every great of the modern movement was here at some point in Fallingwater visiting with the Kaufman family. So you can imagine the discussions that happened in this space. So Fallingwater Fireside carries on that legacy. And tonight we have with us Luis Vidal. So thank you so much for being here with us at Fallingwater. But I'll tell you a little bit about Luis, and then we'll start the conversation. But Luis is founder and president of Luis Vidal Architects. He graduated with honors in architecture from the University of Greenwich, a member of the Royal Institute of British Architects, the American Institute of Architects in New York, and the College of Architects of Madrid. He established Luis Vidal Architects in 2004, a Madrid-based global practice with offices in Europe, Chile, Dominican Republic, and across the United States. And your firm has received over 50 international awards, celebrating your innovative ideas. They're well-deserved, innovative ideas and how you accomplish challenging solutions for unique problems in architecture. You've designed more than 200 projects. Wright designed almost 1,100, so you have a ways to go. But at all scales, including more than 30 airport projects, among them the Terminal 2 at Heathrow, the Queen's Terminal, which received the Best Public Building Award and the World's Best Airport Terminal Award. He's also the vision and concept architect for Pittsburgh's new terminal, which is what brings you here tonight. And has anyone seen the Pittsburgh terminal yet, or gotten a behind-the-scenes look before it's opened? So you're in a real treat. Bill and I did a tour was it a month ago?
So, yeah.
Almost a month, over a month ago. I think it's something Pittsburgh is going to be very, very proud of. So I'm excited to learn more about that today. You're a guest professor at the Bartlett School of Architecture. You're a member of the Industry Advisor Board at Cranfield University in the UK. And you've lectured at Carnegie Mellon here in Pittsburgh, among other institutions. So it's a great honor to have you here tonight with us. So thanks for being in Pittsburgh, and thanks for being at Fallingwater.
Thank you.
And tonight, it's a relaxed, open conversation. So if something Luis says engages you and you want to ask a question, please just raise your hand or just blurt out your question. Let's start a dialogue and a conversation with Luis. We have a lot to hear and learn tonight. But I'll just start with a fundamental question. So what inspired you to be an architect? Were there early life experiences that drew you to architecture, something in your childhood or early career that took you on that path?
Interesting question. I think that it was probably my curiosity. I've always been intrigued about solving problems.
Okay.
And very early in my life, I was always messing around, trying to understand how things worked. And that probably led me to architecture. I always say an architect is a problem solver. And in order to solve a problem, you have to listen and you have to understand.
Yeah.
And obviously you need to observe. So probably that's what took me to architecture.
Okay. And I know you visited Fallingwater and Kentuck-Knob over the weekend, but you'd been here.
Oh, yeah.
Been to these houses before.
Yeah.
So was there something specific about Fallingwater that is particularly inspiring to you, or Frank Lloyd Wright's philosophy that helped guide you early on in your career?
Well, I think many things. I mean, there's so much to take in
Yeah.
and breathe in from here. What really surprised me the first time I came down that path was, wow, how on earth did they build this here in 1937?
And
you know?
why?
And why? But wow, I mean, it is, you know, the design is impressive, and especially also because of the time it was done. But also building this out here, I'm sure wasn't that easy.
Well, you imagine the local farmers that were employed to build Fallingwater alongside Frank Lloyd Wright and his apprentices. They must have thought this was some spaceship that landed in the middle of the forest. Something completely foreign to what they were familiar with at the time.
Yes, I mean, I think this was a revolution for everyone,
Yes.
even back in Europe at the time.
Absolutely.
In 1937, back in Spain, I'm Spanish, we were in the middle of our civil war, and Europe was still to start the Second World War. So you can just imagine what this was like at the time. And answering your second question, you know, what fed me visiting this the first time and many other times is there's a lot of things. It's the way the building is blended with nature, not only the way it comes out of nature, but the way it actually breathes with nature. You have the inside out and the outside in. There's a lot of my work which is about that, about the quality and the use of natural light. I always say natural light is my favorite building material. It's also the cheapest because you can't buy it. But I tell you, mastering it and using it appropriately is very difficult because you need to have the right amount, not too much, not too little. Also understand where it's coming from, what is it carrying. It's carrying, you know, solar energy. Sometimes if it's north light, it's carrying a really homogeneous light. But the beauty of it is it changes every minute. So, and every time of the year. So, you know, it's constantly changing. So working with natural light is extremely complicated. And there are a number of masters across the history of architecture. And Frank was definitely one of them.
Well, and adds a complete, you know, temporal dimension to the architecture that unless you embrace it and use it, it can fall flat and feel sterile. And like you said, this engagement with light, which is so apparent here. Everything about the architecture of Fallingwater is about engaging you with nature, pulling you outside, that constant dichotomy of light, dark, hard, soft, inside, outside. When you're on the terraces, precariousness, yet then you can feel stable and warm on the interior. But that dichotomy of architecture. So do you play with this constant push and pull in your spaces?
All the
that
time.
enlivens them and brings them to life.
All the time, because it is part of our connection with nature. I mean, we were designed to live in nature, and it goes back thousands of years. So that connection with shelter, but the connection with the outside, which is where we develop our lives, is extremely important to make that connection and understand how it actually works and how one informs the other.
Sure.
Because they're not disconnected.
Sure. So, I mean, you were clearly aware of Wright's philosophy, but is there another figure in architecture that served as a main mentor for you or a main inspiration for you?
Well, funny enough, yes, Richard Rogers, he's been my mentor. I met Richard when I was 26 years old.
Not a bad person to meet at 26.
No.
Yeah.
My hair was black at the time. And
did he turn it white?
Yes. he actually put on my hands to design what is still today, to me, one of the most beautiful buildings and airports in the world, which is Terminal 4 in Madrid. You know, I was given that, I was entrusted to lead and direct that job, that project by Richard. Richard obviously has a long connection with Frank and
Absolutely.
You know, Peter Palumbo is a very good friend of Richard, and obviously Peter is the owner of Kentucky Knob. But also, you know, Buckminster Fuller. also had a huge influence on Richard and on Frank. And the way, if you analyze how Wright was mentored by Sullivan and how Neutral was mentored by Wright, and what Neutral really took on all these prefabrication and industrialization with Jean Prouvé, and they all belong to the same era, generation, although a few of them a few decades away, but they all kind of
they fed off of each other.
Exactly, that was the word I was looking for. They
Yeah.
fed off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was your introduction to airport design through that work with Richard Rogers?
Yes, I already had an interest in airports. My
Okay,
final
okay.
thesis design at university was about an airport, about London City Airport, because I did, as you said, all my architectural training in London. And yes, I actually knocked on Richard's door and said, would you like to do this terminal in Madrid competition with us? And he said, yes, why not? And that's how it all started.
What particularly fascinates you about airports?
Going back to your first question, complexity.
Yeah.
Airports are the most complex building type that you can think of. Hospitals are also very complex. We design offices, we design museums, we design other building types, but airports and hospitals really take a lot of my thrive, because I'm always striving to make an airport better. When I was young, I traveled a lot for different personal reasons when I was young, and I always thought, going through airports, why has this place got to be so dull, so boring, so difficult,
Stressful.
so grey?
Yeah.
Yeah, people that use greys because they don't think. So, yes, I use color.
Yeah. So what makes a good airport?
Oof. It's a combination of a lot of things. But if I had to sum it up, I would say making a space for the freedom of the passenger. A space where passengers feel free and they can decide what to do. Avoiding shopping malls from where planes eventually take off. A space which is intuitive. You can just get to your plane without reading any sign. An airport is a place where people go through a cycle of peaks of anxiety and valleys of being more calm. Our job is to try and make that journey as seamless as possible.
I know the great moderns in their airport design, they were trying to capture the spirit of flight, the beauty of this new technology, the fascination of being able to get from point A to point B in just an hour instead of 20 hours. How do you capture that spirit of aviation in your work?
Well,
and I'm thinking of like Dulles, and I'm thinking of JFK, Saarinen's work, this kind of architecture that purely captures that spirit of flight.
the spirit and the magic.
And the magic of flight.
There's an element of magic there. It is. I think it's all about. There are many things. One is obviously being as local as possible, so that an airport is the front door to a city, sometimes even to a country. And many times your last image as well. So it's not only your first
your introduction and your farewell.
Exactly, and your farewell. So that has to be deeply rooted to where you are.
Okay.
At the same time, there's extra large, medium size, and small airports, and they all have a different nature. You also have hubs and destination and origin, so they are completely also different in themselves. So that in itself just introduces another degree of complexity. But getting to understand the magic of that space and the time that you're using that space and making the journey seamless has a lot to do with the ambience, the use of natural light, the use of color, texture, acoustics, the materials, even this is a very difficult one, I always insist on getting natural cross ventilation into an airport.
Mm.
You know, like here, you know, why can't we open the windows? Why do we have to be concealed within glass windows? And that's part of, you know, you will see in most of my buildings, the use of terraces here in Pittsburgh. You've never seen anything, or hardly ever seen anything like it. You will have landside terraces where people can come in on the weekend and use the terrace. But it's not a tiny terrace, it's a huge terrace for activities, for kids to play, for things to happen.
As a passenger?
As a passenger and as a non-passenger. So pre-boarding, pre-security, you will be able to go out and use those terraces. You will be able to wait for your loved ones on the meeters and greeters area and outside and join them for lunch if you want. You know, if they come in, why spend an extra half an hour or an hour to go downtown? Come in, have a nice meal, have a nice lunch, grab a cup of coffee and then go on. Why not?
Why not? Love that. Never heard of that.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, you have it here.
Yeah. I told my husband we need to fly out of Pittsburgh. We need to go somewhere internationally.
So you say it needs to be rooted in place. So how did you learn about Pittsburgh? How did you learn it? What's at the essence of to be a Pittsburgher?
I moved to Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
So before we won the competition, I moved to Pittsburgh to understand the city and the region. And I walked it and I drove it and I would speak to people and I would try and understand the economics, the dynamics, understand the airport. And you know, I came through a number of really important aspects that informed my design. You know, it's nature, it's the technology in the city, the community. You know, the rolling hills inform the roof. So when you look at the roof, it's all about the rolling hills. In fact, I have an image up for you. I brought some images to help explain what I may not do. There you go.
There we go.
Those are the rolling hills of Pittsburgh. So this informed our roof design, which is
Yeah,
that.
beautiful.
So, you know, one is informed on the other, or the forests. You know, I walked the forests. I walked the. This is another image. You can see the forest.
Yeah.
So people ask me, you know, why are the columns of the terminal copper? This is where the copper is coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Yes.
And another thing you may be interested in learning is the branches. You know, the trees, all the branches have a different incline, so that they actually following a real tree. Not all branches on trees have exactly the same
Right.
length.
Yeah.
So all these columns have different lengths and different inclines. And another thing that fascinated me while spending time in Pittsburgh was the sky. That-
Especially out here when you
Yes.
get out to the mountains.
But even in Pittsburgh,
Even in Pittsburgh.
even with the light pollution,
Yeah.
there are nights
Right.
when you can really see the stars. And this is why we did it on the ceiling. At night, the ceiling becomes a constellation in itself, so it looks like you are almost outside.
Yeah.
You could be in a convertible car, so this is a convertible terminal
Yeah.
where you see the sky. Anyway,
One of my favorite features of the new terminal is the transition point you created between landside and airside. Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, that's a very interesting, because you have to understand the new terminal at Pittsburgh is what may be considered almost a landside terminal. So it's your check-in, on your way out is check-in and security. Your way in is your baggage. But once you've gone through security, we're actually onto the old terminal, which we've also renovated, but it's not a new building, it's a renovation. So the connection between the new building and the renovation of the older building was also very important.
Yeah.
And that we did through, well, we took inspiration from the Phipps Conservatory, which is the image on the top. You know, you on the conservatory you have these spaces which go down and up, but you also have this compression and expansions, very much like Frank did in his
Sure.
buildings. You know, compression and expansion, and the terminal is about a lot of compression and expansion as well. I always say a terminal is a number of volumes that you get through compressed and expanded spaces. So this was the inspiration. You can see this is still on Saturday. So this was last Friday or Saturday, so it's not completed yet. But this is a huge screen, and this is your way into the old. Very much like at Phipps Conservatory, this is a screen on your way through the next. And this is what it will look like.
Beautiful.
It's what I call a petal tunnel. Those are petals which change in size, as you can see. They are shorter at the end, they're longer at the beginning. They're smaller at the beginning, they're bigger at the end, and they can change color, like petals and flowers do. So it's a transition, very much inspired, as I said, on the Phipps Conservatory.
My instant comparison was the tunnels that lead in and out of Pittsburgh.
The Fort
Pit Tunnel, which defines the entry into the city and also the exit from the downtown. And for me, it was as if we were going into Fort Pitt Tunnel on our way out of the city, or if you were returning on a flight, you'd be coming through Fort Pitt Tunnel, and then the entire terminal that you designed opens up for you and welcomes you back to Pittsburgh, which I just absolutely loved. It's so elegant and beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is all about, as I was saying at the beginning, making the passenger feel free and making their own decisions and feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
Because, travel is so stressful.
So stressful.
Why add stress? We should take stress away, shouldn't we?
Yeah. So are there lessons from your design work at Pittsburgh that you'll take forward for future airport projects? Things that you learned in this one that you'll apply elsewhere?
Well, this is not a commercial, but having a great client is very important.
Okay.
And we had
Pittsburgh was a good client?
We had a really good client. A client that listens, that asks, and that will help you define and develop. I mean, we're not architects, we're not capricious. What we do has a reason, but having a client that will follow you is very, very important. Other lessons that we will take forward are, everyone feeds from the previous one, obviously. We're now doing the new international terminal at JFK in New York. We started that 6-8 months ago. That's another complicated one. We're in New York, we're in JFK. It's the only international terminal that will eventually be at JFK. Because JFK is reconfiguring its space into 4 terminals, the 3 larger carriers and an international terminal. So that's the one we're doing. But again, the use of outdoor space, being able to have terraces connecting the outside with the inside, use of natural light, and the way we can make that happen in New York. It's very similar to our Boston Logan terminal. Both of these have the luxury of having a really great view of downtown and facing west. So we have those beautiful sunsets looking at the skyline of Manhattan or in Boston of Boston. But yes, each one is different and feeds from others in different ways.
Any nod to Saarinen in your design for the new
Well,
terminal at JFK?
Saarinen is fascinating, and I wish he'd been longer around because we could have had a lot more excellent buildings from him. Saarinen I think he did 4 terminals in the United States. He's really known for 2. The Dulles, which is the most functional terminal building I've been at. So simple but so elegant and so unique.
Yep.
And what's fascinating about that terminal, maybe some of you know, it's been extended by 1/3. So it's 1/3 longer than the original building. But you don't notice. You really have to look at, there's a line on the floor,
Mm.
a brass line that was built to demarcate the old from the new. But that's all you can see. And it's masterfully done by the architects that did the extension. And then TWA, that's a sculpture by
It is a
itself.
sculpture.
How do you extend that sculpture? You cannot.
You can't. Yeah.
Well, they've built a swimming pool upstairs, If anyone's been to the TWA, they've done a swimming pool and a bar, which is great if you have some time to hang around. But it's not in the building. They've actually had to build it outside. Not like, as I said, adults. But yes, functionality, flexibility, adaptability, thinking to the future, what's coming next. We don't know. Well, we kind of
Well, space
think, no.
space travel, drones, all of these things. Are you playing in that space?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
We actually designed the one of the very first spaceports.
Okay.
Actually, here in put on image, here in the States, in Denver, and sorry, this one. That's a spaceport in Denver. This was all about showcasing it for the public. So people would come here to get a space vehicle, a space vessel, and but people could come and learn, and children could come and be excited with the fact of space travel. The same way, like many years ago, you may remember many of our airports had terraces where people would go on the weekends to spot the landing of the planes, and they would have papers to take which planes landed and what time and who the carrier TWA was. So this was very much more about that. A vertiport, drones are a completely different beast. These are more like aerial taxis. Different. Spaceport is about going up. There's a tourism going up. There's a lot of lab testing going up because lack of gravity. So there are lots of uses for space travel. These are about getting from point A to point B with a certainty on time. So you're not stuck on traffic. Because this takes advantage of a 3D street system. If you think about our streets, they're all two-dimensional. And we all cross over the traffic lights, or sometimes the flyover, but mainly traffic lights. This is about a 3D. You can have as many levels
sure.
of flying as you want within a city.
Huh.
So it's taking normal commuting into 3D level.
Wow. How close are we to these?
Oh, they exist.
They exist.
This is a rendering in a European city. This is a client of ours, and they are actually marketing it. We've designed 137 vehicle drone stations,
Wow.
and they're actually marketing them now in Middle East, where it seems like they are more willing to
experiment
with certain of those things.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, in designing for future technologies, is there any materials or even just thought processes that you put yourself in? What does the future of design look like for these technologies? What kind of materials are you finding feel futuristic as the future is redefined seemingly almost every day now?
Well, very interesting. There's always been an evolution of materials, and normally materials have to fulfill a number of things like test of time, technical capacities in terms of thermal performance, resistance, etc. And there's been a lot of evolution on that. Materials which are lighter, there's a lot of transformation on composites. There's a lot of work being done on industrialization and prefabrication. That goes all the way back to Frank's time and Neutra and Prouvé and Bucky and all them. We're very close to mastering that. We've just designed the largest prison in South America, 1,800 cells. it was all prefabricated because it all had to be taken up to a mountain where there's, like Alcatraz, no one can escape, and if they escape,
Wow.
they're in the middle of a mountain. So it's all about those forward-pushing ideas and people and developers and clients that want to go along. And that is happening a lot. In terms of airports, a lot of the emphasis is now being put on technology. There's two fronts. If you think about, we're still traveling at the same speed as 80 years ago. So, a Constellation plane is no different really from a 777 today. So there's a lot of emphasis, of course, in making them energy cleaner, less noise, less fuel. Some are working on faster, but not that fast as, the Concorde used to, traveling 3 times from London to New York, or from Pittsburgh, let's say from Pittsburgh to Paris. That time is still an issue. The other technological front where terminals and airports are working on is making that journey seamless. So you will very soon, because they are being tested, the technology, for example, for going through security, seamless without taking anything off your back or off your body. And that means belts and pens and computers and everything. That technology has been there before COVID. And it was beginning to be tested in this country and in European countries. It's now more heavily tested, and you will soon see airports where you just walk past without stopping. If you're carrying something, they will stop you, don't worry, they know. It is an Israeli technology which is 300,000 times more efficient than our current X-rays, and it costs the same.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. What potential is there for AI in architecture?
Well,
I mean, maybe it can design the whole building. I don't know.
of course.
Yeah.
But most of them have been designed. I mean, when I started coming to this country many years ago, I was fascinated at seeing at those stores, you could buy a house on a sheet of paper. They're all designed, and you can just get them up and done in 3 weeks. That's always been there. AI will help architects and engineers and designers make things faster. Because it will go through code, it will go through options much, much faster. I believe architects will still be necessary to make the right decisions and ensure the quality, the process.
And make it humane.
And yes, and obviously make it humane.
Yeah. You've designed at all scales. I know you've designed bathroom fixtures, you've done master plans for cities, you've built airports, hospitals, jails, residences. Is there a topology that you prefer, a scale you prefer? What carries through all of them then, if there's not a preference?
The preference to me is a challenge.
The challenge.
Whatever proposes a challenge. When I designed the faucet, I was commissioned to design a faucet, and my first question was, why a faucet? There are millions of faucets on the planet. What can I do? What can I bring new to a faucet?
Yeah.
So it really started it was all about saving water, and then it was all about teaching children. So our faucet has a program that can teach. So you have a button to wash your teeth, to wash your face, to wash your hands, and a program that can go into schools, so children at the end of the month get a theoretical bill of how much water they've used.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And it starts teaching them how to use water. So yeah, that's a smart faucet. And so it is a challenge. The answer to your question is, what is next? What can we do next to make people's lives easier and better in an affordable way, so that it reaches everyone?
Well, you mentioned this idea of educating about water conservation. that's at the root of all your work, this idea of environmental sustainability. And Heathrow, what was the designation that Heathrow received?
Well, Heathrow was the first building, was the first BREEAM Excellent building in the world.
And what is explain BREEAM?
BREEAM is the equivalent of LEED Platinum. So imagine an airport which reaches the first LEED Platinum in the world. That was Heathrow. We also got a lot of other environmental, like the use of light, like we do here in Pittsburgh. I'm sure we will get lots of lighting awards in Pittsburgh. Sorry.
But environmental
the
sustainability is
yeah.
always at the core of what
I
you
always
do.
remember one of the phrases Richard taught me. Richard always used to say, a gorilla will always be a gorilla even if you paint its lips with lipstick, pink lipstick. It will always be a gorilla. So being environmentally sensitive is not something that you can add on.
Yeah.
It's something you have to be born with. And that's at the root of us, the way we live, the way we go through life, and the way we practice. So when we start a building, we don't set out to win an environmental award or to win a certification. They win them by themselves.
It's inherent in the work.
It's inherent
Yeah.
in the work. And
Yeah.
sometimes I have clients that say, how much more will it cost to get a LEED silver or gold or platinum? Say, if we start from the outset, zero. It won't cost you any more. Probably will save you more in the long run. And there are all those studies, 5% more capex, but 20% less opex in 10 years, whatever. But no, we can do it for the same price from the outset.
In your reading your philosophy and reading your manifesto, you talk a lot about the importance to you of blending tradition with modernity.
Yeah.
And for me as a historian and a preservationist, the dialogue between old and new is important and sometimes very difficult to achieve a successful union between new construction and existing heritage. So can you talk a little bit about how you do that in your work?
It's very much about how you go about it and how you read and how you interpret what tradition and prosperity or future is. There's a beautiful example in Chile. We recently completed a building which is a community center, which is in a really run-down area of Santiago. And the building is an L-shaped building, which is an 1800 building, which has gone through different transformations, but suffered from the terrible earthquake in Santiago, which we have restored to its full, but at the same time we have completed it with a new building right next to it. And again, I brought some images to show you. Don't know where they are. No, they will be here. Yeah, this is it. So on the left, you see the former 1800 building. On the left, you see the new building. In the center, because it's all about the public realm, it's about this making it a community center, but also to be used by the people all the day. When we designed this, the client, which was the municipality, wanted to close the plaza. We said, why? Well, it would be vandalized. We're in the worst area of Santiago, it would be vandalized. So we said, no, you have to keep it open. You have to let people come in. You have to learn, expect people to learn from it and understand it. Well, a few months after, I would say maybe a year after this was opened, obviously 24 hours open, I get a phone call from the mayor, and she says, it is the only building in our neighborhood which has no graffiti. Everyone respects the building. So to me that is...
Because you created something beautiful and people want to be in the space.
And they respect it.
And they understand it.
And
Yeah.
they understand it.
Yeah.
The other one we're currently designing, which is a new way of interpreting the tradition with the modern, is a loev. You know loewe? the Louis Vuitton
Mhm.
brand. So we're building the worldwide campus, and
Wow.
to us, building a campus for Loewe, and they are a very traditional company based on use of leather and artisans, and very much like we do. You know, we are also in a way artisans. We draw with graphite. I still draw with graphite, and so this is all about, you know, this is a ceramic vault. Ceramic has been used for centuries in architecture, and this is wood. Again, wood has been used in buildings for centuries, and it's all about, you know, how we bring the light into the space, and we have all the artisans work in this space
Wow. An inspiring space to be in for design,
for working.
for
and being,
working. Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful. Now, I love the contextual design of that, of the building in Chile.
In Chile?
Yeah,
Mm.
so well done.
Thank
What is
you.
the material palette of the new building?
On the new one,
Yes,
this is all wood. Wood.
wood.
Yeah,
Wood,
timber.
wood columns?
Yeah, wood columns and wood struts, because this is a balustrade. This is very similar to this.
Yeah, you just
You
carry
have,
the old
I
into
just
the
carry it
new.
all the way up
Yeah, it's beautiful.
to distinguish it.
Solid beam, or the laminated beams, the columns,
The columns are laminated.
laminated.
Yeah, the columns are laminated. They have steel inside.
And the glazing, full height?
No, the glazing is behind. You probably don't see it on this picture. So the glazing goes up to whatever it's behind. So if it's office, it will go all the way up. If it's a kind of lab or a place where you need to meet, the glass only goes up from height level up. So you have intimacy. So the glass height depends on the function behind that wall. Sorry, I think you asked.
I did.
You were.
I want to go back to sustainability because it's a really important aspect of what we do as a company, as a general contractor. And I'm curious about how you approach material reuse and how you're thinking about waste diversion. Our landfills are filling up really fast. So how are architects thinking about taking an inventory of a building before it comes down and thinking about how we take those materials, or before we renovate, how we take those materials and reuse them to preserve some of the history, but also to keep waste out of the landfills.
Very interesting. There's a lot of talk, and there's a lot of research, and there's a lot of theories about it. And I don't think anyone has really cracked it besides the standard, recycling standard. You know, we can recycle concrete, we can recycle tiles, we can recycle glass, but the philosophy must be a much wider philosophy. Funny enough, and I want to come back to this building. Louis Vuitton has set up what they call a life cycle 360 degrees sustainability. And they're the most advanced. They say, you know, LEED is way behind, WELL is well behind, you know, we're somewhere else. And their goal is that 99% of everything that goes into a building ends up somewhere else.
Yeah.
When I say everything, I mean the graphite from the pencil to the duct carrying air conditioning. And this is theoretically going to be the first building in the group and the first building in the world, and I say theoretically, because it's never been done, which does this 360 degrees cycle.
Jerry, you had a comment, question?
This feels a little backward looking, but I'm curious as an architect, your consideration of the airport that you started with in Pittsburgh and how that encumbered or influenced, or I mean, you look at Fallingwater, Franklin Wright had a site, you designed the building for the site. You had an airport that had some functions I assume you had to retain for budgetary or other reasons, but how did you start looking at that and out of that arrive at sheer poetry? Kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. So well, obviously the location was given. Yeah, Frank had the beauty to choose the boulder, We didn't. So the location was given. We started, the brief originally was a one-level terminal, which means departures and arrivals on the same level. And we proposed a two-level terminal because, you know, Pittsburgh Airport comes from a US airway hub with over 15 million passengers, had dropped down to 7, wanted to come back to being something, but obviously not a hub, recognizing it's an origin and destination terminal. And we said, you know, if you're going to go above 10 million passengers, you need a two-level terminal. So that was the first kind of information on how to design that terminal. Obviously, it fits into the triangle between the 4 piers of the original X shape. But then it was all about the inspiration on the region. So saying, you know, the compression and the expansion out of here, for example, and the rolling hills and the use of natural light and the way everything kind of comes together. I always say things don't have an answer because they have multiple answers. And it's the way they all come together and one informs the other that makes something unique. Thank you.
You say that architects need to be predictable and unpredictable at the same time.
Yeah.
So talk about what you mean there.
Well, there's the expected and the unexpected, isn't there?
Yeah.
So the expected makes your life and your day-to-day pretty, I wouldn't say boring, but pretty monotonous.
Yeah.
But I always tell my people when I get to the office, you know, I've only just started. And this is like a gincana, you know. Every day is different. You can have your agenda, no matter what. You can have all your meetings set up, no matter what. Something else is going to come in the way and it's going to change. That's the unexpected. So building that into a building, into a terminal, into a hospital, introducing unexpectations, excuse me, the word does not exist. But that's what makes your day-to-day life more interesting and more exciting. I have another image to show you because this one's fun. When I designed this feature on Madrid's airport, so we designed the building. It's got a beautiful bamboo ceiling, really nice curves, natural light coming in through the valleys. The building's almost 1 mile long.
Wow.
Okay, so it's a long walk. And I came up with the idea, I said, you know, why don't we paint the columns with the rainbow? You know, the client thought I was drunk that day. You know, there are a number of reasons why I proposed this color scheme. One, it makes the building feel much shorter. It's just you know, an optical illusion.
Yeah, you get color as signpost of space. You
It
can
gives you
gauge distance.
Yeah, it gives you an orientation. So you know you're in the red, the green, or the yellow area. So it also is part of an iconic building.
Yeah.
There's lots of things happening here, the way artificial light comes in at night. So this is part of the unexpected in a building. No one was expecting this thing which has now become a city landmark.
Yeah.
And a country landmark. Please.
Are you
Yeah.
an artist or are you an engineer?
I always say architecture is the blend of art and technique. We do need a solid technical foundation to understand how things stand up, how things resist the forces of nature, you know, environment, climate, so many different things. So we do need a strong technical background. And then at the same time, we need to understand what elegant is, what beauty is, and how we can harmonize both things. You know, in a way, Frank and Buck, and I can never get him right. Bucky is much easier.
Yeah, Bucky
much
is
easier,
easier,
Bucky.
yeah.
Buckminster Fuller. What really joined them was they were so elegant on the way of their geometry, but at the same time they were so distinct. It's funny because one of the first autobiographies I read was Frank's, and then I've read Bucky's autobiography. biography, in fact. And you can see the crossovers, but each one was on their own path.
Go ahead.
You say that you design for natural light primarily, but how does that decision inform the ways that you use artificial light? And is there a mentality that you have comparatively to natural light that you use for artificial light? Is natural light your motivator, or does it come from somewhere else?
Good question.
Well, natural light is a motivator, obviously, because we normally wake up with natural light. No, that's how we normally. So it is part of our biorhythm, and it's part of our day-to-day life. And the way I design buildings is that natural light blends with artificial or night light, so that light is normally coming from the same source, or from the same origin. So you will see most of my buildings don't have direct spotlights looking at you, because at night you look up and it produces glare and it's uncomfortable. So you will see a lot of that, trying to merge inside outside, nature with function, and natural light with artificial light. That's also one of our blends.
You had a question.
Yeah, I'm not an architect, not even close, but
I try every day.
I'm just curious, how involved are you on site, with your general contractors, with your trades? And how's it going with, the local support system that you have building the new terminal, with the engineers, with everybody else, and how involved are you on site with that process?
I am very much a hands-on person. I always say that to have a successful project, you need 3 key agents. You need a good developer, client. You need a good contractor, and you need a good design team. If one of the 3 fails, failure, disaster.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure right at the beginning, normally the contractor comes alongside a later stage. One of the things I love about this country, which I'm importing into Europe, is the CMAR system, or the Progressive Design and Build, where we really get contractors involved at a very early stage. So there's a dialogue and there's a continuous influx of information going both ways, because you really need that marriage. And you need to understand, I come from a family, my father was an engineer, he was an architect, he was a developer, he was a contractor, he was a real estate man. So I always understood from home that everyone has to win. If you pretend that one of the agents along the process is going to make a loss, that is a recipe for disaster. So you have to be involved to make sure that everything syncs together and works. And of course, there's always tensions, there's always things that are not aligned, but I believe one of our duties is to get all those things aligned.
Yeah. And you're pleased with your local team here? And
I was fantastic.
yeah.
It was really good.
Great. Good.
It was very, very good.
Good.
I mean, there were a number of trades, a number of contractors.
Oh yeah.
They've all done very well. And one of the things, again, in this country that you don't find in other countries is the pride that they take.
Yeah.
And I was telling them on the gala on Friday, a few of them came up to me to thank me, and I said, no, don't thank me, thank you, thank your team. Because they're really proud of the work they've done, and they know this will be here for a long time, and they will bring their children and grandchildren and say, Dad built this. That's very important.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
So tell me this, after you do the research, you look at the site, client, you can feel textures of what it is you're looking for, at some point, you sit down by yourself in front of a white sheet of paper and a pencil or a screen. How do you evolve your designs?
Most of them may start with me, but it is not exactly like that. I mean, I do work with pencil. I am a huge consumer of paper. Don't tell the environmentalists, but I spend paper.
It can be recycled.
And I have the luxury of having one of the best teams in the world.
Mhm.
So I will sit down with my team. You know, it's not only me walking around the site and looking. You know, they come with me, or I get them along later or sooner. I mean, sometimes they travel sooner than I do. We get together and we exchange ideas, and you know, we kick it off. And sometimes it is my initial sketch. Sometimes it's the evolution of someone else's initial sketch. It's not always. I'm not an egocentric. You know, this is a fun story. When I went through the Boston Logan competition, the final stage was an interview. And there was this gentleman at the jury, or an interviewer. The last question was, "How is your ego, Mr. Vidal?" It was an interesting question to receive. An interview.
How do you answer that?
Well, you know, ego is not on my vocabulary. You know, it's just not there. You know, I said, you know, search me on the internet. You will find egocentric architects, and you will not find me on that list. Which is true.
Well, Wright would have just shaken the design out of his sleeve, as he said. So he was not ashamed to have an ego.
Mhm.
It was a different era.
Different era.
It was a completely
Different
different
era.
era. I mean,
But he always honored the
Very
people that
collaborative.
worked with him as well.
he did.
Absolutely. What other questions do you all have? Yeah.
When do you sleep?
Don't. My wife is here. Ask her. I only sleep when I'm next to her. When I'm not next to her, I never sleep. No, I sleep very little. But one of the things interesting is I do sleep on planes. As soon as it starts rocketing, I fall asleep.
Wow, that's a gift.
Always. And I wake up when it touches down. You know, that's true.
Yes. Yeah.
When you were living in Pittsburgh and observing it, what was your kind of collection process in terms of what you would take back to your team? In terms of, like, was it photographs, written materials? Were you taking journaling every day?
No, not a journal every day, but making notes and taking pictures and videos and books on the area. One of the things I loved, and I keep saying, going through the Heinz Museum, I learned there's a language in Pittsburgh, the Pittsburghese. And I bought the book and I took it back to Madrid and I tabled it, you know, put it on the table. Hey guys.
No,
you better learn.
hey Jens.
Hey Jens.
Yes.
Angst. Don't ask me any
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
So yeah, you've got to learn the vocabulary. I mean, we really need to get in to understand. So yes, it's a collection, and then of course the teams come. Teams have been living here for years. You know, up till COVID, I had a team of 6 people living in Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
So yeah, very much hands-on.
There was another. Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, this is going way back. Growing up, where were you when the Barcelona Olympics was? And was that an inspiration at all in terms of the architecture of the stadium and some of the other, I mean, I don't know if that was that close to you or?
Yeah. It was, we were moving from Barcelona. I was born in Barcelona, but you could say mainly raised in Mallorca, which is a beautiful island.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to sail a lot. That's one of the things missing in my day-to-day life today. Barcelona has always produced magnificent architecture.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can go way back.
Mhm.
Madrid is now doing some good architecture, but the stuff that has gone up is incredible. And the Olympics was also a transformation for the city. I would say probably the first time an Olympic has been taken as rivals, as a, an opportunity to change a city for the future.
Yeah.
And not just have a huge bill at the end of the day.
Right.
And they did it masterfully. They did it really well. Everything, from social housing, the athletes' residences were designed to become social housing later.
Could be reused.
Exactly. So everything was designed. The stadiums were designed to be properly reuse later in the right locations, not somewhere where you need half an hour to get to. It was a real example. I always say cities have to comply with 4 letters that start with a C. So they have to compete, because competition brings the best out of you. They have to cohabit, because every time we have more people, more cultures, more races, more languages, so we need to learn to live with each other. They have to co-share, I say co-share, which means you need to share education, culture, intelligence, energy, resources. You need to share all those things. And then they need to be connected. If you're not connected, then you're outside the world. So, and Barcelona is definitely using those 4 Cs.
Good.
Yeah.
I love the Olympics, especially with the archer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Maybe one more question?
Well, there was someone behind,
Oh, really? That wasn't you shooting the arrow.
just in case. No, he did it.
Yeah.
He did make it, but there was a plan B, obviously, just in case.
You
Yeah,
didn't like the Olympic
there was a
gold.
plan B.
Leave us with a question.
Well, mine's kind of technical in nature, but your design team, you said you were hands-on earlier on. Your design team and then your technical team, you say contract documents, so they all produced in-house by the same people, or they're like divisions? The design division, the contract document division, construction management division, or is there an overlap with all those?
So
categories?
we run the office in divisions, but we also make sure everyone mixes. So we don't have someone who's been working on airports for 10 years and someone in hospitals for 10 years or someone on contract documentation or specs or design. So we ensure everyone mixes, because everyone enriches himself from other experiences. We have daily, if not daily, almost twice or 3 times a week, internal design reviews, where we hang everything up on a huge room, paper of course, everything's pinned up on the wall. We invite clients, we invite consultants, but we also invite members of the team who are on other jobs. So it's a very enriching process. So we're all being fed from each other.
Well, truly inspiring conversation. Beautiful conversation. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Remarkable. Let's
Thank
give
you for coming.
Luis a round of applause. Thank you. Everyone, let's do
Good questions as well. Huh?
good questions from the audience. Absolutely.